Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first of several videos from Chapter 8. As we move into Chapter 8, things are very different from Chapters 6 and 7, which were all about working with raw data, summarizing raw data, answering questions about raw data. Chapter 8 is all about what they call what if analysis, which is an appropriate title, but also a little bit misleading because we've been doing what if analysis all the way along. Way back in week one, when I did the hypothetical student budget, we could have said, what if I wanted to buy a car and have a higher car payment? What if I wanted to get a second job and add more income? What if I wanted to move to a bigger apartment and we change the number for rent in the spreadsheet budget up to a higher number? And when we did that, we learned that using the formulas and functions, it would automatically update those mathematical results. We could ask those questions, change a number or two, and all the other math would automatically update. But in chapter 8, we're going to be talking about what if analysis tools, which is a very specific technical name, a capital W, a capital I, a capital A, what if analysis that's on the data ribbon. But before we do that, we're going to talk a little bit about break-even analysis, something that some people may have talked about in an accounting class previously, but not everybody. And break-even analysis is a part of Chapter 8, and the idea that we're trying to evaluate a potential business opportunity, and we want to know, well, is this thing worth pursuing? Is it even reasonable or rational to think that we could do enough business to make money? And so if I know a little bit about the and estimating the costs and the selling price involved with running an operation, I might be able to do a back of the envelope kind of break even analysis to say, well, is this even worth spending any time on? Because again, I don't want to invest time and energy and eventually maybe my life savings on buying a business or investing in a business or so forth. And so I might do a break-even analysis. And the break-even analysis is based on a very simple model of business that almost all of you probably understood at a pretty young age, which is that in a business, you have revenue, money coming in, and you have expenses. And what is left over is our profits. And ideally, if our revenue is going to be higher than our expenses, if we take in less money than we spend, we're going to have a negative profit, which is a loss. And so, even when you start a lemonade stand at 5 years old in your driveway, you are, at least a little bit aware of this idea of revenue and expenses, although your parents may not have charged you for the water, they didn't charge you rent, etc. But we can talk about this revenue minus expenses equals profit equation, which is the simplest model of a business. And we can say, well, that's true, but there's a little bit more complexity to it. And the next level of complexity would just say, well, there's money coming in. We sell things for a selling price. I'm going to use SP, and we multiply that times some quantity. So if I sell things for $1 a glass for my lemonade and I sell 100 glasses, I have $100 of revenue. And when we subtract our expenses, there are two kinds of expenses. There are our fixed costs, and fixed costs in an accounting class, you spend time thinking about defining this, but they are things that don't change with the volume of business. So if I sign a lease and I lease a storefront, the amount of rent I pay is based on that document or that contract. It doesn't depend on whether I have a lot of customers or no customers. I could be closed 7 days a week, and my landlord would be happy if I just paid my rent. And so it is simply a fixed cost, whereas we also have variable costs, and those variable costs are what are the costs per unit. And so the more I sell, the more I'm going to have to pay. And so, thinking about lemonade stands, I'd have to have more water, more sugar, more lemons, etc. The more lemonade I sell. If I sell only 10 glasses in a day, I have relatively low variable costs. If I sell 10,000 glasses of lemonade, I got a lot more variable expenses. Obviously, I also have higher revenue. And so the break-even point, and I'm not going to do the algebraic manipulation for you, but we can calculate what is the value of Q that would give me zero profit, meaning I wouldn't make a profit, but I wouldn't lose any money. And it turns out that they simplify this mathematical equation when you set the profits equal to zero and solve for Q. It turns out to be your fixed costs divided by the difference between your selling price and your variable cost. And so if I were to give an example, so if I went over here and say, here's an example, say I wanted to open up a bagel store near campus, next to Jimmy John's, and my fixed cost was say $1,000 a month to rent the building, probably on the cheap side, but plus having some fixed costs for utilities and fixed costs for salaries. But I'm going to have a variable cost, and I'm going to make this simple, of $1. And let's say I sell my bagels for $3. So selling, relatively pricey bagels, so $3 a piece. Well, if I wanted to calculate what my break-even point is, again, if these numbers are given to you on a silver platter, as they oftentimes are in an introductory accounting class, well, it's 1,000 divided by 3 minus 1. And if I do that and show my work here, 1,000 minus 2 equals 500. And so if I sold 500 bagels in a month, I would not be profitable. I would have, money coming in. I'd have $1,500 of revenue, but that would all get spent on my fixed and variable costs. If I sold more than 500, then I would start generating a profit. And so the idea is, to figure out, well, what would I need to do as that minimum quantity in order to just break even? And I'd have to think about, well, is that reasonable? Could I sell 500 bagels in a month? Again, at Jimmy John's or on that, corner, it's probably not unrealistic. 500 in a month is only like, what is that? 20 a day, less than 20 a day. Presumably, I could sell 20 bagels a day, just with students walking by from the U of M in Augsburg, plus commuters. And so it might be saying, well, let's go and pursue this further. If I had done this and I said, well, I'm thinking about opening this bagel shop at the Mall of America, and I got to pay a much more higher rent, and there's a much higher variable cost, and there's competition, my selling price is going to be lower. If I calculate the break even, it says, well, you got to sell 10,000 bagels a month. I might say, that's too much. I'm never going to sell 10,000 bagels per month just to break even, let alone, try to make any kind of profit. And so the break even point gives us an easy way of thinking about that. And so in chapter 8, we're going to use this idea of the break even point, the point where I don't make a profit, but I don't lose any money, to evaluate a situation or a business that's a little bit more sophisticated, because most businesses aren't so simple where you just have a set of fixed costs, you sell one product and you have, one variable cost. Think about almost any business, even a bagel shop. Well, they're selling bagels, they're selling sandwiches, they're selling coffee, they're selling juice, and it's a combination of all those things that will, perhaps lead to the ability to make a profit. And so, we can use an Excel spreadsheet, but still have this idea of the break-even point, and we may not solve for it in an algebraic way, but we can represent the idea of a break-even point using this tool that they talk about in chapter 8, and using the term that the textbook uses called CVP analysis, or cost volume profit analysis. And the first tool that you'll see in my next video is the idea of one and two-way data tables. And so I'll create a short video explaining one and two-way data tables using the river rafting data example. Have a good day, and we will talk to you soon.